All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the HHC podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Moreno, and I'm here with my brothers, Chris and Juan. How are y'all doing today?
Good, 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 good.
Good. It's a gloomy day, but we're doing all right.
A gloomy evening right now. It's currently Saturday for us. We're pre-recording this again for Sunday. I'll be out on my road back to Texas Tech, so that'll be fun. But we had to do this pre-recorded, especially because there is an 11 o'clock game. But we'll get into that in just a little bit. Um, Before we get into the podcast, make sure you follow us on the Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do talk about Spurs basketball. We stream this podcast every Sunday at 10 a.m. on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, all of which you can watch us live. And if you cannot catch us live at our designated times, then you can watch us after the fact. You'll be able to catch all of the Spurs talk um, before the game tomorrow. But if you can't catch any of the other stuff, you'll be able to watch it on VOD right after. We have a lot to talk about today, or we have we have we have a little bit to talk about, but a lot has happened in this last week, right? We talked. We had a 3 game stretch where we played against Toronto, Boston, and Philly, and in between all 3 of those games, we've had multiple health and safety protocol uh, like hits, right? A bunch of our players have to get hit with health and safety. So with that, we ended the week with the 1-2 record on the week. In that week, we had lost to the Raptors 104 to 129. Then came back and or went to Boston in a back to back and beat them 99-97. Had a day of rest and lost to the Philadelphia 76ers 100 to 119. Uh, so Chris, this like I said, this week had a lot of pretty nasty things happen to us. But I'm sure there was a couple things that you could have taken out of it. So what do you feel about this last week?
In general, I mean, it's hard to be it's hard to be like a chipper or like in the best of moods, I guess. Uh, just because, like you said, the health and safety protocols. Knowing that you're gonna go into a game already shorthanded. I think it was obviously I can't remember who said it, but there was a lot of people tweeting around like about a month ago, like kind of saying like it's really hard for me to feel enthusiastic about the NBA right now. And at the time, I was like, not, I didn't really agree with them. But I feel that same kind of thing. It's like, man, it's like you have to kind of psych yourself up for these games a little bit more when you know that you're already going in a little shorthanded. So we're the long 82 season has those ups and downs already without COVID. So kind of just adding on to that, you know what I mean? So uh I was excited for the Boston game. I felt like it was going to be a close game. I had said last week that I feel like they're just a team that's searching for things a lot like we're searching for things, and that game was like neck and neck from the first quarter straight through the whole night, like until the buzzer, right? So that it was good. Like that game it kind of like is what I'm holding on to for the week. Disappointed to see how easy we kind of let Van Vliet get off early in that Toronto game, and I think that sunk us. And then I think we all kind of felt that we were gonna run into a wall when it came to Philly. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I get that. And Juan, what do you have anything to add on to that? Because I think that kind of sums up for me at least on how the week has gone.
Yeah, pretty similar stuff for me too. Like coming off that Detroit loss and stuff just to start the new year, kind of hoping they like get right. Knowing you're gonna get DeJounte back at some point. Just to like you finally get him back, you have one good game, and then it kind of like how does the saying go? Like the air goes out of your cells, like you feel the air come out from your cells, just like right from under you, like it is kind of like Chris said, like it's deflating. It's hard to like feel good. Um, I've said it all year. I don't know if our team. I mean, I know we're not the most talented team, but we can't afford to be missing a guy or two, and it's like we've been missing a guy or two all year, and now like this is obviously the biggest stretch or biggest chunk of people that we're missing right now. But it's just kind of disappointing because I know every team's going through it too, like with the health and safety protocols, but uh, it's deflating having to go from that big Boston when it felt like okay, we can start picking this back up, and we got Dejounte back, we got our leader back, just to immediately going like, okay, like let's see how long we can survive without half our team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no kidding. It's like I think that perfectly. That's like another great summarization about how the week has gone. For me specifically, it was like Devin had been killing it both the Toronto and the Boston game. Like I was full on, like I was ready to come on to this week and be like, Devin Vassell is that guy. He is so good, and he can't do anything wrong. And I don't care what happened in that Toronto game. I don't care like how bad the ending of that Boston game was for me personally. um, Devin Vassell has been great, and I love him. And then he gets hit with health and safety, and like it kind of just makes it a little less like, oh man, well, now I don't like now I just like I'm glad I get to praise a little bit, but I wish I would have been able to praise a 3 game stretch of Devin Vassell being like having the hot hand and a half and doing his thing, right?
Yeah.
But with that kind of stuff, it kind of plays like, it's like a give and take, right? Because we're losing guys and we're like, oh, like that's unfortunate. We don't get to see Devin play. We don't get to see Trey. We don't get to see Derek Keldon, right? I know Thad wasn't getting minutes, but it's always valuable to have that type of a piece in as your like as your backup, right? In case we have a guy like Jakob go out for an extended period of time. But with that, like, with those guys being out, it gives us chances to see Josh Primo play. It gets chances to see just a couple of the guys that we don't get to watch play prominent time in the NBA. We finally get to see Josh Primo get his minutes. We finally get to see Josh like take what he like that opportunity and see what he does with it, right? And that's exciting. That's exciting to see, at least. Like that was the one bright spot for me was Josh Primo being able to come up and take prime time, right? Even if we aren't exactly on televised games, right? Um, but it's one of the things that I wanted to talk about was just seeing Josh and how he played. How do y'all feel he did? What do y'all think that you saw that you liked, stuff that you didn't like, things that he can improve on? Like he's a young guy, he's a rookie, so there's a lot to be told about when you finally get prominent minutes with him.
Sure, sure. And Sean was saying yesterday, like he's got good court vision, right? Like I really like him at that point guard position, is what he was saying. And it's like not only just like his court vision, but his his willingness to try the pass. You know what I mean? It's like you're cool with like if it results in some turnovers or whatever, just to kind of see what he's gonna do. I think my favorite part of the whole thing, first of all, I think he's done fine. You know what I mean? He's gotten bullied around a little bit on the defensive end, but it's fun to be able to see him out there to the point where you can actually go to that next step of like, well, where are his weak points now? Where are his strong points now? He had made a comment saying like, I didn't play too well. I'm really anxious to look at tape or something like that, right? And we, when in the larger conversation of like getting Primo minutes and getting him time, now we're finally getting a shot to like move into that next phase of like, okay, now that we've seen you out there, how can we make you better in this context? Not just how can we take your Austin experience and bring it to us or whatever. Now it's like in game kind of stuff. So I'm just excited for it overall, I guess.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree too. I think he's played fine. Like I don't like look at him and be like, oh my gosh, like this was just the worst pick in the world. I don't have any thoughts like that. I kind of feel like how it feels like last year with Devin. It was like he shows flashes already. It's like, all right, well something's there. He's got another level to get to, and he already looks so poised and like if obviously right, like you want all your players to get better, but like the type of things he does right now, and he just becomes like more refined. Like he is just a perfect complement to anybody on the court. He can have the ball in his hands, he can make the right pass, or he could knock down shooter like off the wing. He I just feel like Josh's Primo's game is going to like blend with whoever he's on the court with, and that makes him like one of the ultimate like I don't want to say like wild card, but like flexibility on who we want to keep or like try to get like sign like if we have like money to go get somebody like you're not going like okay well we have point guard shooting like you're like okay we have a ball player who you can play next to anybody. Dejounte, you can play him next to Dejounte. He could be a starting point guard. He could be a starting two guard. So Primo's shown me that already. Now his game yeah, he's a rookie right now. He was the youngest Spur to ever start a game, and it shows on the defensive end. He gets thrown around. He gets bullied. Sometimes he like runs like the same play that like is meant for somebody else. Like,
Bro, when him and like Bryn get stuck in the same spot, like just following each other for a while.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
and like,
funny.
yeah, it's fun. It's like it's gonna be like a common theme like throughout this episode for me. But like I've kind of taken this last week like as an approach of like some of these fans who watch these lottery teams for 5 years straight. And it's like, yeah, you're probably not going to win a lot of games, but it's like, at least you got like one guy. You're like, well, this guy's special. Like, he's awesome. Now, the Spurs got plenty of guys that I feel like that. But this last week alone, Primo with the getting minutes in his hometown in Toronto, like that was awesome. They kept showing his family like in the stands, and he was getting like opportunities to go out there and play. And then the Boston game, leading into the Philly game, he just gets opportunities, and that's all I can ask for right now. I'm more than happy with just seeing him get the chance because I'd rather him go out there and make mistakes right now and go like, oh, okay, like Chris said, I'm gonna go look at the tape. I'm gonna go figure that out. I'm going to get better, and I just believe in him, and I believe like in like the process for him. I'm just excited that he's even getting minutes. I'm not too happy because I'm not too happy or like too down when he has a 20 point like near 20-point night or a 0 for 5 night from 3 cuz I feel like he's not forcing anything. He's not like stuck or lost. Shots just aren't falling or maybe like a thing or two he's just missing. I like what I've seen from Primo.
Yeah, and it's cool, to get those games under your weight under your bag a little bit because like at the beginning, not that I mean I don't know if they feel like this. They're at this point, even though he's a young kid, he's still a professional at this point. There's a little bit more of that pressure of the unknown of like, well, you're still this unproven thing, but it's like, okay, come in and have a good game or come in and have a bad game and let's start to build on that. I mean, like, eventually as like a Tim Duncan's career moves on, it's like the first couple mistakes that you made mean less and less because we just move on to bigger and better things. So like we're finally getting to that stage of his career, which is awesome. It sucks that it's happening now due to like a lot of the people ahead of him having to step out. But I mean, one of the questions that you're going to ask later, and I guess I'll spill the beans on it, is like, what can we hold on to? It's like that's something that we kind of hold on to. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, the biggest thing for me so far, and we talked about it a lot last year with Devin, is like that like aggressiveness, like not being scared to just show up when they want you to, when when you can, like when you have that opportunity in your hand, you know, because that's been a thing with the other young guys, like there wasn't a lot of that with the likes of Derek, with the likes of DJ, with Lonnie when they were babies, obviously, like now they all three of those guys have shown that they want to step up in those opportunities, right? But when they were young, when they were little rookies, you could tell that they were rookies and they were scared out there, that they didn't know what to do, and they were still trying to get it along. And while Josh is still trying to get it along, obviously he is showing that much more willingness. Like he's showing that he, like, in the sense that this is how where DJ, Derek, and Lonnie were when they got drafted, and this is where Josh Primo is when he got drafted. So it's just he is that step ahead. He is able to do more than what our usual rookies would be doing. And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing to see from him, because it's just something that like even though he might not be 100% ready right now, if he gets more playing time, we can see that improvement happen over the course of this like the rest of the season, and that's like one of the things that kind of we saw the Spurs Twitter start talking about. They start bringing up a couple questions and a couple things here and there that come to our attention that we like to see, and it's like this right here, right? I'll just read it out right now. Like Josh Primo is one, not ready for big rotation minutes yet, assuming that the Spurs want to stay competitive. And two, showing enough flashes that if some team makes a big offer to Lonnie Walker in free agency, the Spurs should be comfortable letting him go. And I think all three of us would pretty much agree on point one, that he's definitely shown good flashes, but if we want to be competitive, he's not necessarily ready for that. Two is the point that I really want to bring to the table and discuss. That tweet in particular talks about Lonnie becoming more expendable because of Josh's play, and I kind of want to bring it that it makes everybody besides the likes of DJ very much more expendable in the long term, in what what we could be looking for in terms of like the next step, right? So yeah, it brings up the question: does Josh Primo make anyone expendable? Juan, I'll let
Um,
you take the table right here. I'll let you take the light.
yeah, I kind of touched on it too a little bit. When I said earlier, like Primo's skill set can like I meant it as in like you're not afraid of him replacing anybody. Now that's not meaning I want to get rid of anybody, or like just because you have Primo you have to get rid of anybody. Now when he like in that hypothetical, he says if Lonnie gets a big offer, I from what I gather from all other Spurs fans, people aren't too high on Lonnie getting a big offer from anybody. So I don't know what a big offer to those people would be. I'd love to keep Lonnie on a deal if he doesn't blow everybody away and get like a if he gets paid less than like what Derek and like DJ are getting and we extend him, like why not? You have the opportunity to have depth and like have like massive like advantages against other teams because you can play. I keep saying like 8 deep. Like you can have players like be quality players because they're so young that you can't just give up on them after their rookie contract. Now, Primo making people expendable, like I guess yeah, like if Lonnie walks, you're not upset that Primo is replacing him in that sense. Oh yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. Um, even like a Derek or Trey, yeah, I wouldn't say I'd be upset with Primo replacing any of those people because of what he's shown and his skill set.
For sure.
Uh,
I mean, like I agree with that. Like I think that it makes Trey just a little bit more expendable. I think it makes Derek just a little bit more expendable, and Lonnie a little bit more expendable. But it's not like I want like, it's not like I'm like willing to be like, all right, well let's just let Lonnie walk so that Josh can just play in his state. Like no, like if we can, like Juan said, if we can keep Lonnie on a bargain, there's nothing wrong with that because he has shown his flashes too. He hasn't. It's not like he's completely and total like well, this is where Lonnie is and we're done with him. Like that's it. We're not seeing Lonnie get any better than what he is right now. I think there is still room for improvement for Lonnie. I think he still can get better. And I don't think it makes somebody like Devin or Keldon as expendable. I think those are still positions that like still fill up. I know Juan was talking about that flexibility. The word that I always think about when it comes to Josh is the combo guard, and is the 1-2. He can be your point guard, he can be your shooting guard, and that just for me that makes Trey, that makes Derek, that makes Lonnie the three people that are like, okay, these guys might get moved or we might let them walk, and it's okay because we have this guy right now. And Chris, do you have anything to add to that or anything to take away from that?
I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you in the sense that, like, or I guess everybody in the sense that, like, he does a lot, so it makes you feel comfortable that he can plug a lot of holes. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't think even necessarily that the Spurs like need to be thinking of him. I don't think that they think of him as a replacement to anybody versus a complementary piece to those people. I mean, right now we could have Josh Primo on his rookie deal plus his team option extension through the 24-25 season, which will put him the exact same his contract will be up at the same time as Derek White's, the one that he's currently on right now. So it's like that I don't even think we need to make a decision on that. It's like our timeline looks so good in my opinion, like when it comes to all of these guards. And I know that and then also just to bring Lonnie back into the thing, like same thing, like I think the way that he's playing right now, he's doing fine. I mean, obviously, I think we all want a little bit more consistency from him. And like Juan was saying, I think the overall mindset is that I don't know if a team's going to come knocking to give him more than what Derek and DeJounte are making, which is at like 15, 16, 17. Well, Derek's last year, he'll be making 18. So I don't know, like if a team comes and offers him like 18 a year, now I think you're looking at an idea of like where the Spurs have to make that decision of like, I think Primo can do the things we need him to do. But if somebody's going to come and offer him anywhere like 14 to 16, I think the Spurs would match it, or I think that in my head they would match it.
Yeah.
So I don't
You're paying
think
a guy
I
Doug
don't.
McDermott $13 million a year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I just think that the Spurs have put themselves in a position to not have to make those decisions just yet, like where it's this guy or this guy versus how about this guy and this guy. I mean, maybe maybe for a guy like, well, we're gonna have Trey for at least another year at 1.7, but even then, I mean, is Trey gonna, Trey's not gonna have a pay bump that's big enough to make us like have a hard decision, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like
For sure.
So I don't know. I just don't. I don't think we're in a position to have to make those decisions now. If we're back against the wall, yeah, I do think that Josh Primo has shown enough to like I said, to be able to fill in a lot of those holes. But I mean, I just don't think that we're in that position. Fortunately for us.
Just take this hypothetical in a sense, right? We know DeAndre Ayton's going to be a restricted free agent next year, and let's just say that he wants to be a San Antonio Spur. And we can do that by giving him the max, right? At that point, we're giving him the max. And I couldn't tell you exactly what the cap situation is, but I can tell you that giving a player the max money with the rest of our guys on the books still means that we're probably like it's probably letting Lonnie walk if he wants to take a deal for $12 million to somebody else. Unless we're willing to go into that, like the luxury tax, which I couldn't tell you whether or not San Antonio would be willing to do that, because we haven't been in like contention at all, right?
So kind of going off of that line though, like let's say we try to offer a guy like Ayton a max. We try to fill in a max guy with one of our big positions. Bryn Forbes is making $4.5 million this year. That won't be on our books next year. Let's assume that goes over. Some of that trickles down to Lonnie. Thaddeus Young is making $14 million right now. That's not going to be on our books next year. So some of that money trickles to him. And that's kind of it. I mean, Thaddeus Young comes off the books, Bryn Forbes, and then Lonnie's those are the three guys that are coming off the books next year potentially, right? So I don't know how the numbers work out, but I mean, it might close the window on his price tag a little bit, Lonnie's, right? But I don't know. I mean, I feel like if you could get a max guy, also lock in Lonnie for maybe a year. Maybe you're overpaying a little bit, but again, you're solidifying all of your guard positions for like just the longest amount of time. I mean, that I think is how you sell a guy like Ayton to come over, is what you're getting in a guy like DeJounte, which first of all, I think DeJounte Murray is starting to become more of an attraction, you know what I mean? Hopefully, for free agents. But what you're getting out of a guy like DeJounte, and then you have stability around him with all these other guards that can be more. We still haven't seen the best of Lonnie Walker. We still haven't seen the best of Devin Vassell. We obviously haven't seen the best of Josh Primo. Keldon Johnson, I kind of overlooked him. We have a team option for next year at 3.8 mil, and then we'll have to pay him. So maybe that comes into effect, 2 years from now. But then again, Doug McDermott's that'll be his last year. So there's room. We have options, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
And that's why I think of it like, just like you said, like that $4 million for Bryn right now. that could be like off the books immediately this next year,
Yeah.
and that 4 could just go right to Lonnie because you got Zach Collins at 7 million this year. He hasn't even played, and Doug McDermott's at 13 million. It's like, what's wrong with Lonnie being right there in the middle of those two guys, like around 8, 9, 10 million a year? And like, is he playing well
Yeah.
enough to ask for more than that?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, no,
And
and I was gonna say where he's at right now. Speaking of like how everything is from the team point of view, how everything's working in our favor. The way that Lonnie's playing right now, if you were to, I mean, if another team were to come in, I think another team would be the one that would be like pushing him to the 16 range. I think the Spurs offer is probably gonna be right below that, at least right now. It probably like maybe if we can get him for 11. I think that might be a good that's a good number. If we have to get him for a 15, 16 because another team's going to offer him that, I personally would still look into the options of like, well, let's err on the side of we want to do this and see how that's going to affect our books moving forward. That's how I would operate.
yeah, and I think I 100% agree with you, Chris. I think that's exactly what I was about to say is like the bargain money is the 8-9 mil in a deal for Lonnie, but for me the overpay is over 12 mil. Like it's over 12, 13 million that teams are going to be going to give Lonnie if he does better at all for the rest of the season, right? And it's like I mean, yeah, like if nobody offers him anything, if we can quietly get Lonnie Walker for a bargain
and
of a deal,
Jakob
yeah,
Pertl's at 10 mil. So it's like those. That's I feel like
that's
that's our
That's that's good market price. Now
yeah,
you were saying like 9. I feel like that's a little low. Like I feel like even
well, that's
from
what I'm saying.
Lonnie
That's the
Walker's
bargain. That's the
even
bargain.
from
Bargain.
Lonnie, but like even from Lonnie Walker's point of view, even if he doesn't like he's betting on himself, so to speak, is the phrase that people use. Even if he doesn't garner a big payday, I think 11 million, right around that area. I think that he's playing himself into again like a spot where he can make that much money for maybe 4 or 5 years. If he can sign that deal, I think that that's good for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Josh Hart's making 12 million a year in New Orleans right now. I'm trying to like find like similar like role
Contracts.
player, yes, contracts that would be like for like that type of like you like the guy. It's just like a integral part of your team. He's not your star. He's not your this that. What did Patty? Patty's like contract. How high did that ever get? And he was ever 6 man for us.
He was
Like
probably. I think he was probably making 8 or 9. I'll
that's
look.
it.
I'll look to see maybe what his contracts have been.
Anything that Patty ever made, I feel like you could pay Lonnie like that much money. I like when I look at it, like we're paying 7 for Zach Collins and 13 for Doug. Now Zach Collins has a chance to come in here and change my mind, but it's like that. Like, what's wrong with Lonnie getting anywhere between that much money for like an extended period of time, like for the next 4 years, because he's young, and is
So
Lonnie
so
that much
oh
different than Doug? Like, is Doug's impact with his 3-point shooting, like outside of that, does he do what Lonnie does for the team? I I
yeah,
I, I just think Lonnie's gonna get better anyways. I believe.
Doug's good off ball.
I know Lonnie hasn't really
he
improved too
he
much this year,
is.
but it's felt like a slump to start the year. Um,
Yeah.
but I feel like Lonnie's a good off ball guy too. That's what I'm saying. Lonnie's
Well,
defensive.
the
Lonnie's
reason why I say
great
Lonnie
switching.
isn't good off ball is because I think like catch and shoot numbers aren't exactly the prettiest. And then like I mean there are times when our offense is literally just standing there, and that is him. That is Lonnie, as well as other players, obviously not just Lonnie. But I'm saying that like you have guys like Devin and Doug who just do that a lot better than what Lonnie does. So. If Lonnie could change it up, if we could change our system up and have it to where guys are just cutting and running around the entire time, then it's like, all right, well that's perfect. But
Yeah.
like Lonnie is part of that problem. So
Just to kind of give some context of in terms of like our role players. So we've had Patty Mills on our team for a long time. So up until 2013, he's making nothing at all. We went into the 2014, he had a 3-year contract for 14, 15, and 16. And it was 3 years, 13 mil. So that was a bargain. And that was like us competing for the championship era, right? And then he signs 2017 a 4-year 48, so average salary 12 million a year, exactly, for 4 years a piece.
So anything like that.
Yeah,
I
like
and
that.
now I'm looking at, and this is all part of like the Josh Primo. I agree with like Jake where like it helps set the bar on Lonnie, where it's like there is a certain limit now where like you're okay, where it's like, okay, well if Lonnie leaves, like we have Primo.
Yeah.
I agree with that sentiment and everything. Now, like some average contracts for like some shooting guards are in the league, I believe this year. Like Josh Richardson was making 10 mil in Boston, and he didn't really look like he made that much of an impact against us when we played him. Contavious Caldwell Pope, 13 million. Terrence Ross, 13 million. Luke Kennard on the Clippers, 14 million. Malik Beasley, 15 million. Um, and then you get up to like this 18 mil where it's like Norman Powell, Evan Fournier, Joe Harris, Tim Hardaway Jr. So it's like, I don't
And
know.
I feel like that's exactly how it's like at the moment, where it's literally like I put Lonnie in that same tier as those guys that are getting the 13, 14 million.
Yeah.
And those guys that are getting the 18 million are the ones that are just one step higher, that are getting asked to do a little bit more for their teams, you know?
Yeah.
Which we
I mean,
want
go ahead.
Lonnie to be like that. We
Yeah.
want Lonnie to be that good. He
Yeah.
can be.
But it's just that's what I was saying. Like the timing of it is working out kind of in our favor in the sense that he still has the time to get to that level, but we could lock him in at this other level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, it could work out, and not even to say that it's a negative thing. That and there always is a back and forth between the team and the player when it comes to like contract negotiations and all that. But like it can be a win-win to tell Lonnie, we're gonna cap you at this 11 to 12 million. You know, we're gonna sign you for 448. We're giving you the Patty Mills contract. But when you're done with it, you're gonna be let me see, you're gonna be 27 years old with a shot to get into the next tier. We're giving you job security for 4 years to move to that next thing, and you're gonna be we're gonna give you everything we got to try to help you get there. You know what I mean? It can be one of those, you know, win-wins. So I don't think that, going back to the original question, I don't think that Josh Primo turning into anything has to mean that some of our guys got to go. I mean, maybe at the worst, it's a guy like Trey Jones, right? Who, because you can see Josh overtaking some point guard duties, which now would definitely eat into a guy like Trey Jones's role.
Yes.
So, you know, at that point, yes. But I mean, in terms of like Lonnie, especially where like the original tweet was kind of concerned, that's where I would disagree. I mean, I think Lonnie, he's got he just, there is a path for him to stay with us for, you know, at the very minimum, I would say like 3 to 4 years.
Yeah,
You know
and
what
the
I mean?
last thing we need is the last month of the season, Lonnie go on a tear and average like 18 points a game on 45% from three. And then that's just like fresh in teams' minds, and they go into free agency like, all right, let me throw some money at Lonnie. And then that's when we
Yeah.
can't afford him, when teams start overpaying to steal
Yeah.
him away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and hopefully context matters. I mean, like, so depending on where we're at, if he's going for 18 a game and it's helping us get into a play-in spot, I mean, that's hard to deny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he's going off for 18 a game on a tear, but we're sitting in the 14th spot of the West or 13, 12 or whatever,
Yeah.
it might not mean as much. But I mean, you know, we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. And then I'd like to what Chris was saying. Like for me, the name that I think of is Derek. I think of Derek whenever it comes to like, okay, like who does this kind of push the table for, like the timetable for a little bit? And for me, it is Derek. It's like, all right, well, I mean, you were talking about the contracts right there, and it was like, all right, that's kind of perfect. Like if Derek just sticks with us with this contract, and then we let him walk after that because we have our guys at that point, because Derek's older than everybody, you know. And if that's how that goes, and that's how that rolls for me. Like I'm not like,
or he, let's say he runs his whole contract out. He's 20. He'll be like 31. He'll be like 31. Is he gonna make comparable money somewhere else, or what if we retain him for a smaller amount at that
and if
point? You
yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly,
Because
right.
now Josh Primo has really emerged into being that second point guard, combo guard next to DJ. Okay, so
Yeah.
now your role's gonna shift a little bit, and who knows? At 31, he might be like, no, I can still be a starting point guard. I'm gonna go somewhere else. But you know, we'll see. Or what if 3 years from now, 2 years from now, he takes the next step into, you know, playing just as good as maybe a DJ or close to where DJ's at. You know what I mean? Like,
For sure.
there's still so many ways that it can go that I just think it's way too early to kind of
To
give
to be
Primo's
ready to
spot
give
to
up on
somebody
people.
else. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like we have so much more to see what this team can do.
For sure. And I mean, it still brings up the question that I think everybody has said, like, kept it going like for a long time, and that is like whether or not we can make any improvements to the squad. Like whether or not we could be able to just like do what we can to like see how much can we add to these guys, or is this what we're rolling with for the next couple of years, or even like just for this season alone. I know, Chris, there's been a couple little waves here and there from teams that have very much piqued your eye, um, in terms of just like a couple of the Eastern Conference teams. But like, what would you do to try to improve the squad? What would we do to like, to add
Yeah.
more to it?
I mean, it does ask or it kind of boils down to that question. What you had said, it's like, are we trying to micromanage our way through this season, which is so up and down, or do you take the mindset of like, there's so much out of our control? We know that our ceiling isn't. We know that our ceiling is probably first round playoffs, maybe second round hopefuls max. You know what I mean? That's like
Yeah.
the maximum where we can get. So it's like, do we just let it roll with what we got so that we're not having to be so reactionary and make all these decisions based off of all this unknown? You know what I mean? Obviously, us as the fans, we don't know so many of their long-term goals that we want to see that micromanaging through all this stuff. So it's like me personally, we talked about it a little bit last week, but when you saw like Bismack Biyombo, I think his contract, we talked about it last week, him getting a 10-day, and it's like, that's a guy that is an impact player in even from a 12 through 15 man spot, and you want to see your team do something like that. I think his contract just got guaranteed, or he like is, I
Yeah,
think.
he got picked up for the rest of the season.
So like, yeah, I wish that we could do something like that. We had talked last night or whenever that Jabari Parker tweet came out that he was getting cut. Like, seeing that right there made me, as soon as I saw that, made me want to push the accelerator on the Thaddeus Young trade of like, if we're not going to play him, then why? They're cutting him to make a roster spot open, right, for flexibility's sake. And I feel like we don't really have that, because even though Collins isn't playing, still taking a roster spot. Thaddeus Young not playing, still taking a roster spot. You got Jock and Drew both fighting for like what feels like a backup center, even though we've seen them on the court together in this past week a couple times. So I don't know, like, I don't know what we can do, right? I mean, I think speaking of that Jabari Parker, I think that's it. Let's say you switched out Thaddeus Young with Jabari Parker. They're probably very similar in the things that they can help you with, but I feel like Parker would actually see the court. So that's where I'm feeling like, dang, well, I don't mind sliding that way. Me personally, I don't like to lose games. I don't like to go into the mindset of that we're okay with losing games. So I want to see us make pushes to be. I don't want to see us to aim for a specific seed or whatever, but I want to see us continually push to be the best team we can be, and to, I mean, ultimately win as many games as we can. I don't care where that sits us, and I also don't care where that sits us in terms of the draft. Like, me personally, I'll take the draft numbers wherever they come, based off of how we played. I'm not gonna. I would never be the one to say, well, maybe we slide into this loss and hopefully that gets us this other ping pong ball or whatever. Like, that's just not how I operate.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want us to lose like on purpose. I think every time we go out there, we need to like have the mindset like we're gonna. And for the most part, we do. We go out there and compete. Like the Philly game, we were shorthanded. There were a couple spots in there where it felt uh, like not a lot of energy was kind of like coming out of our end, but I don't think we need to be making moves. I don't think we need to panic. I don't think we don't. Especially, I've been vocal about this for I don't know how many weeks in a row. We do not need to be trading like pieces like Lonnie or Keldon for like a Sabonis or like an All Star, and we're just gonna be. That's good. That I feel like that puts a clearer and more defined ceiling on our team when you do that. When you trade a young piece and like a Thaddeus Young for a guy who was essentially like for like a mid-level guy like DeMar, we already saw where that had us.
Yeah.
Now you have the opportunity to, like Chris has been saying, like you have options, you have more flexibility with the cap space and the young pieces who can grow, who can
Yeah, we're,
blossom.
we're hoping we're hoping to solidify our ceiling like next year when like if we pull it in now we get a ceiling which is like oh now we're looking at second round and above.
Yeah,
You know what I mean, and it gives us a clear idea, but not to cap ourselves right now.
yeah. And thankfully the Spurs have always been patient and they've never been like those franchises who feel like they need to like blow it up or get rid of somebody too soon, too early, or like grab some player they think is going to change their world. Um, so I agree with Chris. I don't want to lose games. I think it's just going. It's happening naturally. We've had a losing record for most of the year. We're unfortunately like the health and safety protocols is going to like probably lose us a couple of games like
Yep.
going forward this next week. Like we're
I
not
wouldn't
really
even
gonna have.
say a couple. That's a lot of games that if
Well,
if it continues to
what
happen,
exactly, but even just like on a week to week basis, like we talk about like winning the week. This is what turns even a good week. This is what turns a 4-1 into a 3-2. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So
exactly. And like I was saying, the Philly game was like I feel like we had a chance if like some of the young guys, if Primo doesn't get in foul trouble, if he can stay out there a little bit longer. Unfortunately, like DeJounte like missed a bunch of layups to start the fourth quarter. Could have really closed the game down, made it really tight. But we were trying. We weren't giving up. We didn't just throw out like a bunch of 10-day contract guys out there because we were down 15 with 8 minutes to go. We were trying to win that game. And
yeah,
that attitude, that mindset, we just take it forward. Yes, if we lose and we naturally fall in the lottery and we add another young piece like Primo or Devin Vassell, plus another $25 million guy with our contract, with our cap space, like they're plus all the young guys getting better. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a process. It's a process that we have going like that is looked I guess better than it has the last couple of years. Like we look like we're in a better spot. I feel like we're competing like as much as we were last year. I know DeMar would have won us a handful of games this year if we had him, but it also would have meant the
we
young
would have
guys
never
would.
lost that Detroit game. Never would have
Well,
lost a Detroit game
I
like
don't
that if
know.
Demar's playing. If Demar is playing, never would have lost a game against Detroit.
I say that, and I like to look back on the past and like look at like what Demar's doing and feel like, oh yeah, like Demar too. But some of those Demar led teams, we came out flat against some really bad teams as well. And
yeah,
I don't know. There's been some Tim Duncan led teams that I've watched us come out flat against, like a Sacramento when they were nothing like you know what I mean, like so I just
yeah,
feel like the Spurs have to we're on the right path. Be patient. I'm not one of those people who think each and every one of our guys is going to be an all-star, but like DeJounte showed playmaking and shot making. He was taking people off the dribble against Philly. Like if he keeps growing, Keldon grows, Lonnie grows, Primo grows, Devin grows, even Jakob Pertl grows, like, and then you add another lottery piece, and then you add another, or not even a lottery piece, just any draft pick we have next year, wherever it's at, that it may be a play-in like lottery spot, maybe like they're in like the top 10, who knows? And then you have the cap space to add somebody. I just feel like that's more of a natural and beneficial like growth of the
yeah.
team.
Yeah, and it's a what you're hoping is that in like 3 years that you can see a successful team that is gonna be intact for at the minimum of like 3 to 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the hope is that, and it's harder and harder to do that when you start to take all these building blocks and say, well, I know you're not going to be an all-star, so let me just like move you over here and move you over here. So I like where we're at too. I know that last year, like about the DeMar stuff, like this year we still, I would say that this is our first year where we don't have somebody to kind of lean on, but I'm pretty sure the whole San Antonio community has we're like, oh my God, DeJounte, like this is the guy, right? So everybody's like leaning on DeJounte to have a big game every night at this point, and
Yes.
at least be the face of whatever effort we're gonna put forward that day. So like we still kind of have that, but at least I think everybody feels a lot better about like, well, our leader is a young guy, so if we lose, we know that there's better days ahead. Versus like if you come out flat and lose with DeMar on your team, you're like,
With
where
DeMar
else?
and
Yeah,
LaMarcus and
yeah,
Rudy.
you're like, where else is there to go from here? So it makes I'm glad that we're having this talk because 44 minutes ago, when you're looking at the week ahead, when you're looking at the week we just had, it's hard to get that juice going unless you keep your mind set of where the end goal is and what you're hoping is coming. You know what I mean?
For
Yeah,
sure. And I
so
think
one thing, Jake, I just want to say that's why I kind of had the mindset this last week. Like we've been a lottery team. Like some of these teams, they're lottery teams and they have top 5 picks every year, and they never like get better. And we've had 2 lottery picks. It's just Devin and Primo, and it's already like looking at it like a bright spot here, here, and here. It's like it's just when they're all together on the court, you're like, oh yeah, this is awesome. But when everybody's out, health and safety protocols or injured or whatever the case, and you only have like one on the court at a time, there's still at least something to look forward to in the growth of a player each time. Because like even like Jake has said, Devin Vassell, like he came out firing against Detroit, he came out firing against Toronto, the Boston game. Like you see like the improvement in the steps, and there's like something to like get out of that. It's not like a depressing like, oh, this is our 30-year-old veteran. Yeah, he scored 15 points again. It's like this is our 20-year-old kid who,
Mm-hmm.
is showing signs of getting better each and every week, each and every month. So I don't know. I like where we are.
And like I mean, y'all, like I think both of y'all already kind of touched base on it. So I'm literally just gonna kind of say what I want to about this
When
last little
taking the
topic,
L.
right? Like because you're right. Like I it's literally just the bright spots. It's literally just the young guys. It is pretty much just saying, okay, well, what can Josh Primo do when we're not going to be able to win for the most part this week? When we're not going to be able to win for the most part this month if it still goes with all this health and safety protocol. Like sure, hopefully halfway through this week we'll get most of those guys back. But what if Jakob goes back in? What if Jock goes in? Like then that's even worse because that's where our holes are biggest. That's where our guys are.
Yeah. We've already seen twice now. We saw Jakob leave and we plummeted. We saw DeJounte leave and we plummeted. So like we know. we know
Exactly.
it. We know what it'll do.
And so I mean, like at this point we've been hit by health and safety protocol and we don't know how long it's going to affect us, right? We can only take it week by week to say, well, this is kind of what we have to look for, right? And this week it's Josh Primo. This week it is literally if Josh Primo can stay out of health and safety and he gets his extended minutes, we'll see if he starts against Brooklyn again on a to later today technically, right? At 11, and
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. We'll get to see what that looks like, and the same thing with Joe Wieskamp. We don't really talk about Joe. He was only a second round draft pick, right? And he's on a 2-way, so there's like just a little less to like come out of with him, but you can still see him get some minutes and be like, okay, there is flashes of him to be able to be a solid 13, 14, 15 man on our roster. There is a chance
I
that
think
he
I
could
think
push
more
that.
than that. Now it's going to be like one of those, like a Corey Joseph and a Kyle Anderson, where it's going to be a couple years before we start to see him. That's how it just feels. But then again, like he comes in and yeah, he makes the most of his minutes. He's trying out there. He looks lost sometimes, just the same way Josh Primo does. But like, yeah, I like his game. I like his shooting. I like what he brings to the team. If he could be a plus or an even defensively and knock down some threes, yeah, like he
Yeah.
could come off the bench and shoot for my team any day.
For sure.
Exactly. So, there's a multitude of things that you can still find whenever we are losing games, whenever we aren't, when we know that we're not going to be able to win. But like both of y'all were saying, when it's a natural thing, when it's not well, we just blew it up because we knew the season was over already. And it's like, no, we we're in a circumstance that is not super beneficial, and it's not like we put ourselves in this, but it's just happening. So we got to do what we can and take out what we can with what we got, right? Yeah. But it all of that, right? Like looking forward, right? I think it's even though there's 5 games, it can still look forward in the week. We can still see what our matchups are and see if we do have a chance to take any games. We play against Brooklyn on Sunday. or to later today at 11 a.m. We play against New York on Monday at 6:30. Then we come home and we play against Houston on Wednesday at 7:30. We play against Cleveland on Friday 7:30, and then the Clippers on Saturday at 7:30. So that's in my opinion, that's 4 games that I already can't be like. I'm already like, all right, well, what can we look forward to, even though this looks like it's going to be a loss? And 1 game where I'm like, all right, let's see what we have in the middle of the league. Let's see if Devin, KJ, Derek, Dad, let's see if those guys can come back before health and safety. I'm sure Doug will be back by that point. And let's hope that none of our guys are out at that. None of our guys have entered health and safety, and let's see if we can get a win over Houston. That's like the game that I'm looking forward to see if we can get a win at least, right?
Yeah, Houston right now is the bottom of the West at 11-29.
Yeah. So, and they've had problems. There is the KPJ and Christian Wood mishap that happened one of the games where both of them had to get suspended by their coach because of the way that they were acting. So that's it's not like they're organized. It's not like they're even without health and safety protocol. There's still a good chance that we could take a win over a team like Houston. So, is there anything that y'all look forward in the week? Like any teams in particular that y'all are like, well, this will be fun to watch.
I mean, we got the LaMarcus Aldridge, Patty Mills, coming. When we go to Brooklyn, I don't know if I don't know if LA is gonna play. I think he was like day to day, as of a couple days, or he was day to day and he played only a few minutes like in their last game. So we might not see too much of him, but it's good just to kind of get to kind of see him again, and we'll see him on the court in general. So that'll be fun. I'm not too happy with the 11 a.m., but it is what it is.
We'll be up.
Let's see. Say it again.
We'll be up.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing us get a revenge game on the Knicks. I don't think we should have lost the last time we played against them. I wasn't happy with how insanely comfortable we let like 2 or 3 of their guys just feel all night long. And I know I've said that like on more than one occasion this year. So in terms of what can we still do to help our squad, there's still so many principles that we can try to get better at. So that Knicks game is I'm circling that one for sure. And then I guess another shot to prove ourselves. I would say that Clippers game is a game that we need to feel like we can win and approach it kind of like we did the Boston game. I mean, Boston's upper echelon team in terms of their star power. I know that they've been up and down, but they still have a lot of tools. And the Clippers are a little bit like that. They're higher in the standings, I'm sure. Well, no, they're 19-21, just below 500, one seed ahead of San Antonio right now.
How's Paul George looked? Hasn't he been out?
Maybe. I haven't seen him in a while. Let me think. We played them on December 20th. I don't think I've seen them play since then. But just I think if we approach that game a lot like we do the Boston game and just play them tough, I mean, that's something that I feel like even with people out, hopefully it's not too heavy, and we don't obviously know exactly what it'll look like, but
I Paul think George. He's missed the last 8 games for them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I mean, that might be a thing where we don't even see him, and then it's a game of that we should definitely try to go and get. You know what I mean? But either way, I mean, we still played a game with Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and we're able to play them the way we needed to. So I mean, I think there's still a lot of opportunity. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of games. So I mean, it's like, if you have one good week, if you can pull a 4-1 out for this week, which I know is a tall order, but if you can do it, you're still pushing yourself upward instead of just kind of treading. Which at this point, I think treading water will probably be considered a win, like from the coaching staff and everything like that.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of am the same way. I know we're like the 10th seed right now. It's vital to stay afloat and not like. Because if we go 0-5 and lose like every game this week, you can really fall behind and fall out of this play-in race and the 8th seed and everything like that.
Yeah.
But like I I'm scared like this Brooklyn. I don't think Kyrie is going to play because it's going to be in Brooklyn.
Mhm.
But like still, Kevin Durant, James Harden. I feel like it's going to be like the Philadelphia game where we're going to be competing. I feel like we're going to come out. Well, I hope so. It's going to be early in the morning. I hope it's not like a little bit like a sloppy game.
I hope I'm just like disillusioned because I grew up with Tim Duncan and all these older people to the point where if it was an early game or like a Christmas Day game, I was like, dang it, man, because we would never play well early we would just never play well. So I mean, hopefully these
Yeah.
guys they don't hopefully the young guys don't feel like that. They're like, I don't care, just I'll play.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
And
I'm.
and
Oh, go ahead, Juan.
well, I was going to say the Brooklyn game I'm scared of, like it's gonna feel like Philly, where Joel Embiid was just bigger. He's talented,
I
and
feel like Drew Eubanks. He did our team a disservice trying to dunk on Joel and missing because
yeah,
then Joel was just like, all right, every 6 plays I'm gonna go hard or something like
yeah.
that.
And so that's just kind of how I feel. Kevin Durant, whatever. I hope we can squeeze it out, but I just have the same feeling. It's gonna be like the Philadelphia game. But yeah, like New York, Houston, Cleveland, and the Clippers. I know Cleveland's been playing better. Uh, Darius Garland, that's his name, right?
Yeah, Darius Garland.
Yeah, him, Jared Allen. They got some ball players over there. So
Good
like,
old Mobley.
yeah,
Yeah.
Evan Mobley has been like they've been showing his highlights and like one day it's like they're comparing him to Hakeem. One day he's doing an up and under and it's Dr. J. Another like it's like he's got a lot of like game to him and
And
his
he's a
size.
4. He's a big dude. That
Yeah,
guy
and
is.
his size along with Jared Allen, like that's a scary game against
And
the
they have Laurie Markkinen, and we've not done well against teams that have multiple tall, at like the 3-4-5. You know what I mean? Like so we'll
I
yeah.
see.
dude, I swear I can't wait because I haven't watched too much Cleveland Cavaliers basketball. Um I'm a pretty big fan of Colin Sexton. I like Colin Sexton and he was out, so I haven't really wanted to watch Cleveland Cavaliers basketball, but I know that they've been good all year. And I know that they have a lot of young talent.
Yeah.
They also should be like, I'm sure Rondo will be in their rotations by the time we play against them.
Yeah,
Um,
he played yesterday against Portland.
so
Which they won. They beat Portland, and I know Portland's reeling right now a little bit, but he had 17 minutes, 11 points, and 3 assists, 5 rebounds. But solid point guard to help set up a lot of these younger guys that we've been talking
See,
about.
exactly. So I'm sure he'll be getting ready to fill in that Ricky Rubio position very quickly, very soon, and we'll be having to deal with that, right? But
Yeah.
like that Cavs team, like I've been like keeping an eye on like the names and how good they've been. And I haven't really heard much from Lauri Markkinen, but I just remember at the beginning of the year hearing that he was playing the 3 for them and just being like appalled, just like, oh my goodness, they're playing Lauri Markkinen as their 3 and then they're winning. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what is going on? How are they winning with that? And I mean, he's a spacing big, or he's a guy that would space the floor. He does not play inside at all. So I get that on the offensive end. I understand that on the offensive end. But how is he playing defense for them? How
I
is
mean,
that working?
it's probably a lot easier when you got Jared Allen
And
behind
Evan
you,
Mobley to be your
and on top of
paint,
that,
right?
yeah, it's like, do I really need to be able to like guard you off the dribble 100%? Not really. If I give you some space, I'm big enough to give a decent contest out on the 3-point line. If I run you off, I can make you feel me behind you, and I know who's behind me, which is Allen and or Mobley. So like,
Yeah, and I'm
I
pretty
mean,
sure Mobley can switch out to those bigs. Like
yeah.
if that's how it rolls, and like yeah, Markkinen's beat off the dribble and chasing it, and then Mobley deters it, and then Mobley chases the guy out to the perimeter like that, and now Markkinen's your 3 having to like switch onto a like that. Like yeah, I'm pretty sure their switching is.
Yeah.
I think it's Evan Mobley fixing that for everybody. Like
Probably. I mean, because at the beginning, prior to Mobley, it probably is you'd want Markkinen in at your power forward position, and then you get those mismatches where if he does have to go out, now you got a small guy down below. You know what I mean? I really like. I know that like everybody goes into this small ball, but I love even though we've struggled big time against it. I love teams that use their size because I mean, it's you guys have heard me say this for like 2 years, but it's just like it's so important. I mean, it never will
Yeah.
not be important in a game of basketball where the tall people have an advantage. You know what I mean?
And the
Like,
Cavs have definitely shown that. Like the Cavs have definitely been that team that's like the clearest example of what you're saying, Chris. Because I mean, they are a high seed in the East right now. They are competing. So that's the whole reason why they traded for Rondo. They didn't trade much for him, obviously, but that was the whole reason is that they knew they were good this year, and they were like, all
yeah,
right, we're gonna keep
they
competing.
couldn't let the Rubio injury like just derail it because they're doing
Yeah,
well.
and they like and that's the thing that I can appreciate from an organization because you don't see that often. You really don't. You like Juan said, you see a lot of organizations that just give up very easily, and that could have been the Cavs way of just being like, well, we're young, we don't care, we'll be
And,
fine.
and they don't necessarily have the luxury to do that though. As a smaller market team, they can't just blow it up because it takes longer. So if they're in one of those moments where they're feeling relevant, you have to stay in those moments. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that's kind of where we were a few, like the whole argument of keeping guys like LA and Patty and all that is but they're able to do it with where their old guys is like keeping Kevin Love around. You know what I mean? To give you that kind of stuff, but not
and
having to rely on him
and
for
even then,
heavy.
Kevin Love, like I mean, he's making big money right now. Once Kevin Love's off the books, and you can get somebody who can fill in that role for less money, or even
or
get somebody
or
better
he's yeah
for more money.
or you just move him again, like in terms of like, do you if you don't feel or if you're comfortable with it, we can keep you here on a small friendly deal for us so that you can continue to be this glue guy and transition into that part of your career if that's where he feels he's at or whatever. So they're not
Kevin
in a
Love.
bad spot either.
Kevin
But
Love on New Year's Eve had 35 and 11 game.
nice.
He's been dropping 20 and 10 games like for like the last month. This last game he only had 8 points and 7 rebounds. The last
And
game he
he's
played against Portland.
but he's off
But
the bench for them, right? Like he's not even
uh,
there.
Probably.
I'm
That's
not
like
sure, but yeah, but like Markkinen, Mobley, Jared Allen, and Kevin Love size that I know Markkinen and Kevin Love can shoot. I mean, no wonder they probably beat teams up and throw them around,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So
Especially in a year like this where rosters are kind of like in and out, like size, man, like just being able to wear teams down, it's proving to be very valuable this year, big time.
yeah. So personally,
Which is kind of why I want to see more. I want to see us use our size a little bit more in
yeah.
better ways. Right now, we're stacking all of our size at the five, and that's just where it's at. And but anyways,
and to your point, I know like we wanted to talk about it a little bit, running Jock like at the four a little bit. I There was like a play against Philadelphia where it was just like such a simple like little like they took a shot. Andre Drummond crashed the boards, was trying to get an offensive rebound. He threw whoever we had at the five like away, pulled the ball down, and as soon as he went up for the shot, Jock Landale just said like slap. He just slapped it out of his hands, and then we got the ball and we started running, and that was because we had Jock and I think it was Drew at the time. I was like both of those guys,
most of the time it was Drew and Jock out there at the same time.
and it was just like, oh yeah, that's what it's like to have two bigs like
Yes.
crashing the defensive boards. Like it's just that easy.
Yeah.
Like and so like just and you've been saying that, you've been asking for that. You said it last week, like, how about Jock at the four? How about Jock at the four? It's like, yeah, and then his shooting will just help space that offensively.
Yeah,
And so I
it takes away of whatever fears you might have of what a two big man setup used to look like back in the day. It takes some of those fears away because he does those stretch things. And again, like you don't need him to be out there guarding people off the dribble like heavy. I mean, yeah, people might try to put him in the blender a little bit, but he's not your sole rim protector. He's got somebody behind him. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And then I was thinking if Zach Collins comes back and he's healthy and he's right, his versatility, that both of them together like that, Jock and Zach Collins, I'm excited to see that duo.
yeah.
I'm all for Jock getting more minutes at the four to get him some playing time. He hasn't quite had like the same explosion he did like against like LA and when he first started like getting into the rotation. But I still like his versatility and the way he kind of opens the floor up for us on offense. and his defense hasn't been too bad. It's not bad when he's got another big on the court with him. I haven't seen us get like run off the court with like two bigs yet.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, I know that it has been a lot of Jock and Drew, so it's not necessarily always against the starters. But another thing that I wish the Spurs would stop doing is we tend to leave our backup center in when the starting center comes back in. So we've seen those guys go in against some starting units as well.
yeah,
So I don't know. I just feel like it could, like you were saying, it could give him more opportunity. I mean, he could play more if we decide to put him there. And yeah, we're probably only seeing that because Doug is out right now. And Keldon Johnson's out right now as it currently stands. And
yeah,
as
they
well
kind
as
of eat up
that.
a lot of, well, yeah, we're not even playing that, you know what I mean? But like,
yeah.
I know that eats up a lot of our power forward minutes, but Jock Landale hopefully is a guy that we can experiment with for the next 2 to 3 years also. And I think that if we have him in that position, or at the very least consider him a guy that we can do at the 4 or the 5, right? Up until we've had this Jock and Drew at the same time, it kind of feels like we've just tried to make him into a backup center. And the more and more that we put him there, the less and less that I want to see him out. And I know that I'm trying to be patient with him because I know it's new. And he's even said, even as recently as the last game, like, it's taken me a while to get through the COVID and the concussion and the being a rookie and the. So I know that there's a lot of things that he's adjusting to. But I just feel like putting him in, like I said it last week, putting our people in the best positions to succeed is what's going to give us the things that we want to see. So like, I've liked to see him at the 4. It's only happened how I want it a few times because there's been a few moments where it's him and and Jakob at the same time. Usually it's about a minute and a half to 2 minutes max before Jakob gets subbed out for Drew, and then you see that Drew Jock. But I wouldn't mind seeing Jakob as that back guy, and still feeling like you can go bigger with Lando at the 4. That I definitely would, at least a few times this year, would like to see that happen.
Yeah, I'm still good on Jock. I still can't get the Boston play out of my head. That's the only thing that
Oh
like
yeah,
just
I didn't even
recency of
I
bias,
forgot about
Well,
that already.
like just recency. Like
and that's not even the first time you've seen him make a bad pass. You've seen him make
yeah,
many times where it's and so maybe that's another reason why usually when it comes to the team makes a basket, who has those rebounding or those inbounding responsibilities, a lot of the times it's the center. And right now, him being at the center, I keep seeing his carelessness with the
but
ball pop up. And so I'm thinking, like, if you have Jakob out there, you're gonna tell Jock to run, to be not be responsible for that. You get down the court. Jakob is inbounding the ball as the center, and then we're off and running or whatever.
in
Like,
in that vein, like personally, if I could have ran the play right, like it's like I think we should have done like Jock inbounding the ball to Jakob. Like Jakob, well, at the end of the day, they're trying to do fouls, right? They're trying to foul,
yeah.
and that's the only problem, right? And I don't know how good of a free throw shooter Jock is, right? But like those are your two tallest guys, right? You let them just throw over everybody to get over, right? And that's technically what like. That's why I think like Devin was inbounding the ball and they had to call a timeout, right? It was either Devin or Derek, and
Yeah,
it was because
they put Jock out there because you're bigger.
Because Robert Williams was like he literally just like could like kept whoever was trying to inbound the ball, like kept them from being able to see the court at all.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, because of that, we need somebody who has size, right? And it was like in my head, like this, like when we called the timeout, I was like, oh, perfect. We're putting Jock out there. We're gonna put Jock out there, and he's gonna pass over Robert Williams. And then he passes over just for it to like land right in the hands of Jalen Brown. And I was like, this guy
I mean,
just did
but
a
I mean,
touchdown pass to Jalen Brown.
you can see it. You can see he was looking for DJ or whoever the guard was, and as soon as he lets the ball go, the guard took off. Like, it's just one of those. It's just one of those things. And like I had text you, or maybe I tweeted at you that night. Like, I've seen Tim Duncan do that same exact thing, and inbounding the play, he's your guy, and he whiffs and throws a turnover. And I remember being, I think I was in high school at the time. Actually, I almost feel like we lost a game just off of that. But I remember like being like sitting there thinking like, why on earth are we letting this guy, like Tim, like what he's, because I've seen it multiple times. You know what I mean? So it just happens. It happens.
Yeah, I mean the only time I ever saw Tim Duncan in alley oop situation or in any situation like that was when he got that oop, the game winning tip in.
The one where the defense is the one who touched the ball.
Yeah.
Nah, man, that's Timmy. That was all Timmy. Timmy directed him to touch the ball. And hit it instantly.
I think it was Andre Miller, but there was one game against Portland like long time ago where it was the opposite though, so it's not really the same thing. It was just us defending the inbound play, and we just whiffed it, man, big time, and they freaking get a run right at the rim, layup, game over. It's like ugly.
Yeah.
So it's happened. Those late game, that's a good lesson for us to learn, I guess, if you want to try to turn it into a positive, right? But
it is a good lesson because not just was the Jock turnover, it was the inbounding effort. It was the running like a play, getting open, like finding a way to help close that or finish that game, right? Close it out. And
and you can keep going backwards and backwards, going to the Derek White turnover, going back to the, there was a lot.
There's plenty. And then you still find a way to win. So it's like they did something, but like Derek's defense in that game, I know we didn't touch too much about like the recap of the week. Derek's defense there at the end of the game, taking charges and like the deflections and stuff like that. That's there. I do agree with you, Chris, though. There was the Detroit game where he was like walking it up. Got it stole from behind.
I don't know if it was the Detroit game, but yeah, seeing it twice in like a span of 4 games or something. The second time it happened against Boston, I was up out of my seat already. I was screaming because it's like, you have to be the smartest guy on the court when DJ's not there. You have to be.
Well, yeah, but I think the Boston game, DJ
gave him the ball.
He turned our back and threw it backwards.
Oh yeah, yes. True.
And that's what it kind of bothered me was it was like this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to like
I think we were expecting the foul at that point though. We were expecting the foul at that point, and Derek is the better free throw shooter. So
yeah, but if you're DeJounte, just go knock those free throws down.
Yeah, or if you're the Spurs, priority number 1 is get the ball into the other side of the court, regardless of all of the other things that are on your planning list. You can't. It's got to start with again. And I kept tweeting. I think Jake, it was Jake, right, or maybe it was Juan who said like, I didn't see some of the game. How's it looking? I think it was Jake. And my first thing was, other than the ball security, it's not bad. And then I texted you again, ball security, ball security. And then it was like at the end of the game, it was like we're just throwing the ball all over the freaking gym. So like, it was just one of those nights, man. For that, like I wasn't too pleased with those sequences.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I think we can go ahead and start looking into the weekly weekly predictions. We did talk about we went off a little bit on our recap and talking about Jock, but we did talk about our week as a whole. I'll restate it again. That we play against Brooklyn later today at 11 a.m. We play against New York on Monday in the back-to-back at 6:30. Then on Wednesday, we come home and we play against Houston at 7:30. Then Friday, we play against the Cavs at 7:30 with the back-to-back playing against the Clippers at 7:30 as well. So, Juan, what do you think about the week as a whole? What's your predictions?
Yeah, I touched on it earlier. I'm scared of Brooklyn because of Kevin Durant, and Cleveland scares me because of their size. So I'm going to say 3-2. I think the Clippers game because they have no Paul George. And then the Houston game, because I don't care who they have, it should be like the Detroit game. Like, I don't care who we have. We just got to go out there and be better than 1 or 2 guys. We should just go get it done. But yeah, the Brooklyn game and the Cleveland game kind of scare me. But I feel like we'll go 3-2. That was my prediction.
Okay. And Chris?
I think as much as I want to say 4-1, I'm gonna say 3-2. Same thing. Brooklyn. I mean, Brooklyn's got a lot of weapons, right? And so it's tough. I mean, you can easily see. I would hate to see it, but you could easily see even like a game where Patty Mills drops 5 threes on us or 6 threes or whatever. So they just have a lot of ways to attack us. The Knicks game, we need to win. That's a game the same way I said we have to beat Boston just because the only thing other than it's just we have to. There's nothing beyond that. We have to beat them. Same thing. New York, we owe them one. So we got to go get that one. The Cleveland one, I'm a little, same thing. The size, it gets to me a little bit. And I've seen us struggle, but again, that falls under the line of we need to go get that game. The Rockets. What scares me about that is because of a guy like Christian Wood, like the games that he plays really like his highlight games are the games where on the rebounding side, you're seeing like 20 rebounds, you know what I mean? Like on top of a 18-point game or whatever. So like, I don't want to see that, short, to put it shortly. But if we can limit that, we should have enough for them. And then last game of the week, Clippers, and they might not even have Zubac. So that's another one. Like it's a gettable game, but I think to speak conservatively for the week, I'll say 3-2.
Okay. So our brother Josh had messaged us before the pod. He said that he was going to go 4-1 on the week. I honestly couldn't tell you. I guess he thinks that we'll probably take all 4: New York, Houston, Cleveland, Clippers, and probably lose against Brooklyn. That's my perspective for Josh. I'll just say that, right? Like, but he thinks 4-1 total. I'm on the opposite side. I think 1-4. Just because of how like it's a little rough to like look at this week and be like, okay, we can win against the Clippers, we can win against Cleveland, we can win against Brooklyn. So that's already 3 losses for me personally. And
you just said we could win against all those teams. And
no, it's hard for me. It's hard for me to say that.
Oh,
it's hard for me to be like, okay, this is the games that we can win against, right?
New York. You don't think we can beat the Clippers without Paul George?
If they have Paul George, I don't think they will have Paul George, right? But if they do have Paul George back, then that's a definite no. And if they don't have Paul George back, I don't know. Like, I mean, there's those guys like Reggie Jackson, even a Luke Kennard. Like, now, give me a heart attack if he does. I mean, if he's the reason why we lose.
Quick disclaimer: I know we talk about like it's hard to predict with like all our guys out, but like the NBA changed their protocols, right, to like the 5-day window. So like
what? So they could be back. They could be back.
We can have our guys like towards the end of the week. Doug McDermott, I know like Lonnie's already come back. Him and Doug, or Lonnie and Doug were out like at the same time. So Lonnie's already come back. Now Doug's probably sick or something, holding him out. But I could see like a guy like a couple of guys, Derek, Keldon, Trey, Devin, somebody come back by the end of the week
and be able to play that game against the Clippers. And I mean, if that's true, if half of those guys come back, that dramatically makes us like that. Like that just makes me like that much more like, okay, well, we could win that game against the Clippers. And at the end of the week, I mean, that'll be fine, right? Like I won't mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't think I'm not too sure how that'll work out, because there could be the chance that they do go the 5 days, and then let's just say that it takes them a couple more days for conditioning. Just say Pop holds these guys and doesn't play them for this week at all because they need to come back and condition. That's what happened to DJ. DJ didn't play for a whole week, if I'm not mistaken. So that could happen to those guys too. Who knows?
Or it could be just like Lonnie, just popping up out of nowhere and saying, "I'm here to play."
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's where it's the toss up, right? And for me, I'm taking the more conservative side that we won't have those guys and that we'll probably be losing those games. The other game being New York, I don't think we'll be able to I don't know. DJ might be able to pull something out and beat New York. That's the one game that I like. I guess the Clippers and New York are the 2 games that could go either way, in my opinion. But the New York leaning more towards
if there's no Paul George, like who do you think beats us from the Clippers?
Reggie Jackson. That guy torched us.
They're struggling right now. They're falling.
They have the guys like Reggie Jackson. I think his name is like is it Terrence Mann? Terrence Mann.
Terrence Mann, yeah.
Terrence Mann, and then Brandon Boston
Jr. They got Eric Bledsoe.
I just feel like we can compete with that. If we competed the same way we did against Philly, clean some stuff up, like have like a little bit more,
or even Boston.
Yeah, I was just saying because like we played with all those guys out in Philly. That was the first game playing like that. You go, okay, like all right, this is who we got. Let's play this week.
Mm-hmm. Especially because you could tell like a lot of the turnovers that happened in the game was because of mishaps, because we didn't have a shoot around. So
I feel like if DeJounte has games like he did against Boston and Philadelphia,
Then
I
we
think
can still win.
You can win games with Josh Primo and Lonnie. Those guys like
Yeah,
find a little bit more rhythm. Primo, don't get in foul trouble. Like find rhythm, get some buckets.
yeah.
I,
And you were talking about Primo having family at the Toronto game. Lonnie Walker had some family at the Philly game too. So he came out with a lot of good juice. And I had tweeted out like he needs to finish with around 20 field goal. Like I want in this next week he needs to shoot a lot.
yes,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
Those are your two
I would
guys
hope
right
that
now.
that results in him having some good games. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. Either way, I mean, like we said earlier in the show, and it's still just going to keep going. Like, there's a lot to look forward to, even though a week can look bleak, and even though like the second half of the week can start to look up. So,
Yeah.
there's there's still a lot that a lot of ball that will be played within
I,
this next 7 days. So,
I will say this. I too went very conservative with my thought process because I said let's beat. I think we can beat Houston, the Clippers, especially with no Paul George, if no Zubac at all. Now that's 2 games. I was thinking we can beat New York and we might drop Brooklyn and Cleveland. Even if we manage to beat a team like Cleveland, or I say manage, I'm saying like if we come out and beat Cleveland, I can see this team dropping a game to like New York. Like I could see us having a good game when we're supposed to, and then having a bad game against like a mid-level team. So I went conservative. I
Yeah.
think we're gonna flip either New
even
York or
even
It's kind of
Cleveland.
Houston, sorry, even Houston, like that's like
No,
another. I feel like, but I mean, when you
no.
lose to Detroit, anything can happen.
well, I feel like when you lose to Detroit, it opens your eyes. It's like you got to
And
go out
but
there and
that's
take
that's what
care
I'm
of
saying.
business.
Like, I mean, even though we were trying, like, because I wouldn't even say that like the Detroit effort like was too terribly bad, right? Because that's
Dejounte would
coming.
have never lost to Detroit.
You're right. Dejounte would have never lost to Detroit, but we didn't have Dejounte, and now it's kind of the flip flop. Now we don't have all of our depth, but we have Dejounte, and like
Yeah, and
I
that's
get
more
what
than
you're saying.
enough.
I get what you're saying there, but like the fact that like that Saturday was coming off of a very bad Memphis loss, and the guys that were playing good got gassed. Devin and Derek were the only two people that I was like, okay, like these are the guys that need to be shooting the ball, need to be doing their stuff in OT, and like at the end of that fourth quarter to close it, and they were too gassed to be able to make their shots because like they
I
were
don't know.
just coming off of a back to back and all that kind of stuff.
We
So
we scored enough to win that game. You got to stop a Detroit team with nobody on their roster.
and I mean like that's so pretty much
But the Rockets game isn't on a back to back. You know what I mean?
it's
It's
not
the
on a
one
back to
it's the
back.
one that's not on the back to back. So hopefully
It's
that the gas is in it. Hopefully the juice is in it. Then I mean, we can't lose that game. We can't.
the
Yeah.
point that I'm getting at is that like even though like I'm not telling you that we need to excuse the loss of Detroit, the point is that that can happen to us and it can happen again against Houston. I'm
It
not
could.
telling you that it just won't happen, you know. So that's
It
why
won't.
like
I'm
just like
telling
you're
you.
saying, just like you're saying that it there's a chance that we're able to play up to the level of other teams. There's a chance that we'll play down to the level of those teams. And I
Yeah.
don't know if it'll be effort. I don't know if it'll be gas. It could be a number of reasons, but it could happen. And I'm
I
not.
feel like saying like gas like oh you're tired is not a good enough reason to be losing those type of games.
Well, what if we
Uh,
lose to the Clippers after playing 4 games in the week, and that's a back to back? You know, like I mean, like that's gas. That's not being able to like. That's being tired because you had to play 5 and 7. You know.
yeah, but I'm just saying like not a good enough reason to lose to Houston and Detroit.
I
Yeah,
mean,
of course, of course.
if you're feeling gassed to go 1-4 means you're feeling gassed a lot during that moment. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like I
Well,
don't know.
it's because I think that like that fourth loss against the Clippers, I think we'll win against Houston. I think we will win against Houston. I'm not saying that that's a game that we will lose. I was taking to the point that Juan was saying that the games can go either way.
Well,
So
Yeah.
that's why I said I think we're gonna flip flop New York and Cleveland. I think I think Kevin Durant's gonna do what Joel Embiid did to us, and we just won't have enough talent out there on the court to
right,
match Brooklyn.
right.
And then like Well,
Yeah,
actually, I think
if you put Brooklyn as like the almost like the surefire loss, you put Rockets as the surefire win, and then I think me and Juan are just a little bit more on the winning side when it comes to the Clippers game. Then you just flip a coin with the Cleveland and New York.
yeah, that was my thought process. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at. You seem to hate the Spurs, and that's
Oh
noted.
my gosh.
But no, I just don't see us dropping games like Houston and like a Clippers game when they're shorthanded after already losing to the Detroit Pistons.
Right, of
So
course. I mean,
I
that's
just
it's a test at
Detroit had
that
lost
point.
18 of 19 games or something like that, and we walked in there and gave that game away. I feel like that's a learning point. There's a lot of people on that team that probably got chewed out. I hope so. If we go out
Yeah.
there and lose these like dud games to the Houston
And
Rockets and Detroit,
it needs to mean more too. Like the Houston game needs to mean more than the Detroit game. It's a division rivalry. We're not trying to be at the bottom of the Western Conference. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a little bit of a separation between like East and West, like where you don't feel that affiliation as much because you only see them twice a year, blah blah blah. But it's like your
This
direct
is a rival.
competition. Your direct competition is that Rockets team, and you need to show them that you're better than them, even throughout, no matter what the circumstances are. So we just it's got to be one of those games.
For sure. Well, just to kind of show the updated leaderboards real quick. I ended up the only person that hit because I said 1 and 2 on the week, and so then I got my point. And I'm not going to tell you that I was happy about that, but it happened. Especially because I thought it was. I mean, I thought it was going to be Boston, Philly that we lost against, and we ended up losing against Toronto, which just makes it a little bit more like, somewhat like, oh, we won against the team that I thought we were going to lose, which is good, but we lost against a team that everybody thought we were going to beat. So it was just like, that's whatever, right? But right now, the score is currently me at 0, Juan at -1, Chris at -3, Josh at -4. Nobody had lost any points on the week, but I had just won my point.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we have 5 games. So this week could go a little bit different. People could be losing points. We could see more people lose and win points, like kind of thing. Again, just to kind of remind, because we hadn't talked about it too much, if we do go undefeated on the week, I will lose a point because
you'll lose 5.
I don't know. I just lose 1 point because I don't ever really see us winning, being undefeated on the week. And
well, if you went 1 and 4, so if we go undefeated, you will lose 2 points.
I will lose 2 points. I will lose 2 points if we go undefeated because I will be that far off of. I will I will be that far off of the actual record of the week, and then they'll go undefeated. So, with that, guys, do y'all have anything last to say about our week as a whole? Anything to look forward to at all before we send off?
No, keep voting for DeJounte Murray for the All-Star game.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you just got to keep going out there and competing. No duds. Don't be like, I love saying the word lackadaisical on defense. Don't let guys get to their spots. Don't let the game start off with them on fire and then you're catching up the whole game. And then yeah, just like looking forward to like more DJ, like because we missed him for a little while. Getting Primo minutes, like Lonnie has an opportunity. Everybody like that's out there, there's an opportunity for them. You're showcasing. So it's exciting like when you look at it like that. So
we're 1 week closer to Zach Collins, whenever the heck that is, but
yeah. Come on,
Eventually.
Pop. It's after Christmas. I know it's like the medical staff and Pop just plays who they let him play.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's go.
Let's go. Well, alrighty then. Before we end off the pod, just remember that y'all can catch us every Sunday, usually live at 10 a.m. We will be streaming next Sunday, January 16th at 10 a.m. So you make sure that you watch us on any of the 4 platforms of Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. All will be live whenever we do our pod. But if you cannot catch us live, you'll be able to watch the VOD shortly after, as soon as the video is done, as soon as we're done live streaming. So,
oh wait, real quick. This was the moment of the week, though. This is the moment of the week right here. Watch.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That was so good watching it live and seeing Dan. He was like,
Yeah.
Okay,
It was
how am I
funny
gonna
too,
get
'cause
around this?
The
it was funny too,
memes.
because that was right after Dan asked DeJounte what he thought about Jake's predictions every week.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, dang, you're right. You're right. I dropped the ball. I should have queued it up that way.
There we go. There we go.
But
Well,
hey, it's there now. This will be. We'll just anytime Jake gives us the negative for the week, we'll have to play it.
Yeah. Let him know,
Well,
DeJounte.
for sure, for sure. If I have a bad prediction week, I'll 100% let Dejounte trash talk me because I'm all for the Spurs winning. So, alrighty then,
Yeah.
guys. With that being said, I hope everybody has a nice and wonderful, a blessed Sunday afternoon. With that being said, guys, we are out.